Hello everybody, welcome back to Hidden Harvest with Liz. Today we're going to be doing our tour. It is the 29th of April, 2025. Let's go ahead and get into it. First things first, we're not going to do anything out in the orchard area except look at like 2 trees, and then we'll move on to the rest of the garden. So let's go ahead and hop into it. For those of you who watched the last tour, you will know that we've had a bit of an issue with our older fig tree. The issue didn't really fix itself, so here's what we did. Alright, last night we actually had to go through and take the top off of it. We do have some lower growth in 2 different sections. I don't know if you guys can actually see this one. But there's like a section here and a section here. So this part of the tree is still alive. I don't know whether or not it will survive this style pruning, but we had a choice. We either cut it down or we allow the worm that was taking over to completely take out this entire tree. So we cut it, and now we wait and see. I'm very worried about this being so open, but we did cut it at an angle so that it wouldn't rot. I was wondering if maybe I should cover it in like a wax or something, but this is a fig tree, which means there's a lot of moisture. You can actually see the moisture coming out of it that came off of this. Hi, ma'am. This is Leah. What you doing? I don't think you should be licking that. I've been touching the fig tree. Goodest girl. Absolutely goodest girl. Okay, so there's the update on that tree. Let's go ahead and show you the mulberries. I mean, I haven't actually shown them, but so I will actually get a chance to try out some mulberries this year. I haven't ever tried eating a mulberry, and I stuck 2 plants in my yard before I'd ever tried them because I figured at least somebody in my family would like them. And then we have got a train. We've got a train. I'll be with you guys in about 5 minutes. I joke, but I actually like the nostalgia of the train being here. I like the sound of the train. Alright, so not a long train, it's actually just the engine of the train, it wasn't the whole train. But anyway, back to the orchard, we've got our first year apple. This one is the Honeycrisp, and it is putting on blooms this year, though I don't know that there are any apple trees around to fertilize these. And if I allow it to put on fruit, it would probably be maybe 1, just so I have a chance to try it. I would not allow it to put on this much fruit, but I do like the fact that it has the blooms and the... Okay, we're not done with the train yet. Wait for it. It's passing another intersection. That's the reason it's sounding off again. Okay, anyway, these blooms smell absolutely lovely. My aunts are really enjoying themselves. But the other one wasn't actually doing anything until recently. There is finally a little bit of green growth going on right here. Okay, what are you? And why are you here? What are you doing? Are you a stinging bug? I don't really want to find out. Please get off. Can you please stop your things? Stop. Get off. I don't want to just shake my hands and possibly kill it. I don't know what you are, but please get off. Thank you. Got prickly little legs. Anyway, there's like little green growth here and here. We have had some rain. We've had a bit of rain, plus I came through to all of the plants that looked like they were struggling a little bit, and I gave them a dose of basically a gallon of water and some fertilizer and just like dumped them on there about, I'd say, a week and a half ago. Maybe even 2 weeks at this point. And then the rain helped along with it to give it a little bit more nutrition and stuff like that. So it does seem like it's finally waking up. I don't know if this is how this particular one is going to work every single year, There's a bug climbing on my camera. I don't know if that's how this particular one is going to work from here on out, or if it's just slow to wake up because it's been dormant and shipped. We'll find out next year. And there hasn't been much of a change in the pawpaw trees. We do have quite a bit more leaf growth. You can see one of them over here. This is the bigger one. That one's putting on a lot of leaf growth, and the other one is finally starting to take off too, plus the smaller mulberry is doing its thing. Let's move on to the main parts of the garden. The orchard is kind of slow right now. This is like the season when it starts getting its hydration, and then it just does a slow crawl for the next couple of years before it's actually going to do anything. So that's just the updates on the issues we were having. Okay, and I do apologize. There's certain sections of my garden where I'm supposed to be weed eating, but I have not weed eated yet. So it's a bit overgrown. Namely up here around the I don't want to say permaculture, but they're more my perennial spaces. They have grass still around them, and I haven't had a chance to weed eat them. That needs to happen probably this weekend. But I've been working on the irrigation, so that kind of came first, and I put off everything else. But let's just kind of breeze through and show you some of this stuff anyway. Hopefully my microphone has been where you guys can hear me. I didn't realize it had moved. My blueberry bushes, this one still looks very, very pitiful. Not sure exactly why. The others started perking up. That one actually put on fruit, and I haven't messed with it. I was tempted to take the fruit off to allow it to get established better, but I'm like, nah. I let them breathe last year. I at least want to taste one little bit of fruit. None of the others are fruiting, so I left it. I did plant some alyssum right here. None of it has sprouted yet. We've got our oregano. We've got our sage. We've got, I don't remember the name of this plant. It was a gift. I have got my asparagus bed and let me see if I can get a good image of this. It's kind of battered and bruised right now because the blooms are starting to go down. And I have not trimmed this one yet, but this is a snapdragon. This is the white one. It smells beautiful, but I actually need to trim it down because it's gotten way too heavy. But I've actually been doing them in turn. I did this one first. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. This one first, that one second. This one that's here will be third, and this one fourth. I'm trying to make sure something... There's my rooster. I'm trying to make sure something is blooming for the bees. I don't want to cut them all down at the same time. This is my asparagus bed, and it is everywhere. It has just fallen all over the place. I've tried to make some supports in the back. They are not holding very well, but this is something I need to work on. And I actually thought about expanding the asparagus bed to over there. I'm not 100% because I want to put these guys in a different situation. We'll get to that in just a second. But I haven't decided on whether or not I want to do that. First things first, I got to figure out the best way to contain this. And as I said before, I thought I had killed my Jerusalem artichokes, but apparently not. They are definitely making a comeback, and they are in there very thick already. So there's also one down there by the side of it. I probably need to get that one out before it spreads. He has something to say. We good? No? Okay. Our strawberries are producing. I have gotten quite a few strawberries out of here, but I think now that I'm actually seeing how I'm seeing how they produce, I definitely want to put them in a different type of situation, like the, what is it called? I'll be honest with you, my mind just went blank. One of those tall, tiered beds, whatever those things are called. I think I want to do that with these because my bugs are getting to them more than I'm getting to them. So, in essence, the chickens, right on cue. 3. The chickens get more of them than I do because after they get slug damage and stuff like that, I just go ahead and give it to them in hopes that they actually catch a worm out of it too. Then we're back over here. This is some of my walking onions, and they are blossoming, which looks really cool. They're blossoming this year, and this is my red and white I'm not actually sure what these are called. That's my white one. This is my red and white one. I've got several out there that are colors of sunsets, but I don't know what... 4. I don't actually know what they're called specifically. I think I have them listed in my house. I'll have to see if I can find the names of them, or if I still have the packages for them. I'll see if I can look them up and tell you. But I got them from Botanical Interest 2 years ago, so that's where I got them from. And these look gorgeous, but they also need trimming. Like I said, I'm only doing them one at a time so that the bees still have a place to get some pollen. I don't want to overdo it. Then over here, my poor seed starting area has nothing sitting over here really. I've got one raspberry that's sitting here. I've got what I think is either a muscadine or a scuppling that's wild. And I don't know whether or not this one will actually produce fruit properly, but I've taken a little bit of it and set it aside to see if I could figure some answers out on this one. And this is a loofah. It needs to go out. Now, out to the main garden area, we've got our driver's side area, the main area, the chicken coop, what will one day hopefully be a greenhouse, because this is just a mess. There's holes all in it. It's not really a greenhouse anymore, it's more of a storage unit. Hopefully I can find myself a greenhouse eventually. I'm working on that. And then some perennial stuff up here. So those are all my spaces. Then on the back side we have our berry area. And from this main area, driver's side area, there's the orchard. So there's the whole layout of the entire garden as it stands right now. So let's go over here to the driver's side area first. I did plant in some pumpkins right here. Nothing has sprouted. And it got me wondering, in all the years I've done... In all the years that I've done gardening, I haven't really paid attention that much to the whole mound method that I have seen people doing. And I was like, why on earth do people mound it? What difference does it make? Do I need to mound it? Because I didn't want to have to pull soil from underneath my my compost. So I was just like, I'll stick it in the ground and let it do its thing. I looked it up and found out the reason why you put gourds and stuff in a mound, gourds and pumpkins in a mound, is because it allows for better drainage and it allows the soil to warm up faster, which makes sense because gourds and pumpkins need heat. I didn't think about that, but my soil is actually still kind of cool, which is the reason why they probably didn't germinate and why I'll have to reseed them and this time do a mound. Yet another thing to go inside my journal of maybe they had a good reason for saying so, and I probably should have paid attention to that part. But this is the first year it's become a problem that certain things have just decided to not sprout. Let's move on. And then I've got what's left over of my onions. These are a Texas Sweet. And I fully expect these guys to not get very big because they're very close in together. I've got another bed back there where they're further apart. And I expect those two guys to bulb up properly. I do not expect these guys to bulb up. I'm going to use these as small onions. This was kind of like overfill. But I didn't want to trash them, so I put them in here. This is the official bed for the walking onions, and half of them are acting okay, and the other half are way, way behind. I'm not 100% sure why, but I will attribute anything going wrong with this entire set of beds to the fact that these are brand new beds this year. Now, if you didn't know, whenever you have a brand new bed, whether or not you get your soil from a garden store, whether or not you got your soil from your yard, wherever you got your soil from, it doesn't really matter how great the soil is. There is a little bit of stunt that will happen because the soil is brand new to an area. The microbiome that allows the plants to uptake nutrients hasn't been established in that area. Plus, if for some reason or another you've got soil or compost or something like that that's not fully broken down, it will tie up the nitrogen in the bed and cause the plants to slow down. Not that you shouldn't plant in them. Definitely plant in them, because by planting, the soils allow the development of the microbiome in that garden bed, which is the reason why, despite all of my beds behind me being new last year, I went ahead and planted out anyway, helping to develop the microbiome. So regardless to whether or not these beds do well, I planted them out anyway. Let's continue. Okay, so like I said, walking onions. Then over here is supposed to be a pollinator patch, and I have actually got all of these plants listed. In my last video, there's a circle here of flowers. Flowers here, and one big one in the back. I know that one's a hollyhock. It's like a deep red. I have already forgotten what I planted here. It's like 2 different ones alternating. And then an orange butterfly weed in each corner. These ones I don't remember the names of, so those are going to have to be added in later on. But they're doing okay. Most of them have come out. These guys have come up. These guys, I'm pretty sure this is like a calendula or something. And then I think this one back here died, so we'll have 2, possibly 3. What I might have to do is separate this out and put one over here. And this calendula came up, that calendula came up. Something ate this milkweed. I don't know what, but it's also over here. I would assume probably caterpillars, because that's kind of what they do. Caterpillars eat that. And then over here, we have got more of a... I'm feeling drizzle. Oh no. Oh man, it's supposed to get sunny, not rain. Okay, we have got feverfew. This is from last year, and it looks like it's actually supposed to put on some more blooms this year. Lavender, hyssop, calendula, yarrow. Let me actually walk around the other side so I'm not sliding. Rosemary, and marshmallow right here. Now, I'm going to say a lot of these are probably way too big, or the final product will wind up being way too big for the bed that I put it in. I fully expect this bed to give me plants that I can move out into other areas of the yard once their areas have been established. Like the rosemary, I know rosemary is a huge plant. I've had one before. It got way too big. I trimmed it down way too hard and it died. So, I gotta be careful with that, but I'm hoping by doing this, I'll be able to propagate some of it and get it moved around to different areas. The feverfew I'll have to separate into 2 different beds, but after I get those other beds established, plans for later on, basically. And then over here, I have got amaranth, and I don't know exactly how I managed to do this. This was not intentional, but in one of my previous videos I talked about it. But basically I took some amaranth heads and sunflower heads from last year's garden, and I squished them up, a couple of different heads, and then I just laid them down in the bed, covered it up, and walked away. And I don't know how I did red, green, and red. I didn't mean to do that. That's just what happened, and it's definitely overseeded. Way too thick in here. Same on that one. Way too thick. As a matter of fact, I've got a few sunflowers that are actually not inside the bed, they're beside the bed. And I'm kind of okay with that, because I actually want to seed some sunflowers into a few areas where I don't mind them reseeding themselves. Amaranth as well. But I was just surprised because, okay, my goal with these 2 areas is both of these plants have a lot of use in this area. Amaranth is actually a grain, plus it is a good trap crop and a good pollinating crop. Sunflowers, basically the same thing. So that, and if I was to ever try and think of a way to feed my animals, namely my chickens, if I couldn't go to the store and get them fed, sunflower seeds, while not the only thing that they need, would be a good thing for them to eat. Amaranth grain. They're not a huge fan of the red amaranth. They mostly liked the Love Lies Bleeding, which is like a green leaf, but a red top. And the Hot Biscuit, I think is the name of the other one. I'm not sure. It might have been Hot Biscuit. Anyway, it was basically like an orange top with like yellowish leaves. Well, green yellow leaves. Basically the ones that I've got over here. So that one I think is Hot Biscuit. And then I've already forgotten the other one. I'll have to see if I can find the name of it. But anyway, they didn't really care for the red ones. They liked the other ones. But anyway, I was trying to think of plants that I can make sure that I'm constantly keeping alive on the farm in order to feed the chickens in case there was a problem with food shortages. So, let's continue on. From this bed, let me circle around here to the outside, which is basically what's going to happen. I have full intentions of this right here having a stairway path down, and then having like a corner bed here, a full bed along this side with more beds and more flowers and stuff like that to bring pollinators into the garden. But right now I've got a goji berry that still has not actually produced any berries. I have got gooseberry, goji berry, and another gooseberry. Sadly, this was actually planted in before I started taking my notes, and of course I did not note down on the gooseberries which one was which. So I guess I'll have to find out the hard way after they produce, but one is a red and one is a green. I just don't know which one is which. We'll figure that out the hard way, I reckon. Let's continue on with the main beds. The main beds are fully planted out except for the squashes and pumpkins. And we're probably, I would say, a month away from a large harvest with my onions and garlic. So let's get to talking about all that. In bed number 1, we have a bunch of different garlic, some volunteer borage. I think there was another one that I actually pulled out that was right here. I have harvested the scapes on my elephant garlic. Then I've got a soft neck garlic which won't have scapes. And then I've got my other hard neck garlic which has not gotten scapes at all. But all of these over here have been yellow for the longest time. And I don't think I fertilized this bed properly before I planted it out. And while I have fed it since, I don't think it's doing that well. So before I can plant anything else in here after I take the garlic out, I'm going to have to do some serious amending to this bed. I'm not sure that these guys, the borage, will survive the shock of being moved to a new area once they get so big, but it's just something that I'll have to do eventually. And then I have Malabar spinach. I have got one of my tomatoes, and I've got my volunteer tomato. I actually did not put what tomato this was. In my last video that I shot, but I couldn't use because the audio was messed up, I named this tomato, but as I don't have audio for it, I couldn't write it down in my notes because I forgot by the time I was done recording. If I'm not mistaken, it is a cherry tomato though, because I think I put only cherry tomatoes on this front trellis. So we'll find out eventually. And here's the other borage. Let's go ahead and show that. It is fixing to bloom. And these guys have got some amazing blooms. They're really nice. Still no word on this volunteer tomato, but it does look to be a cherry tomato. Those are very close blooms. So I think this is going to wind up being another cherry. Right here in both of these containers, those are mint. They need to be, I need to clean out both of these pots and divide them because right now I'm pretty sure the roots in there are all circulating around themselves and they're not really letting a lot of water in. That's what happened last time. Plus I've got to propagate these for some other folks that want mint. So that's my next project. Then I have got another Malabar spinach. I have got more tomatoes. These are my black cherry tomato. These two guys are, and if I'm not mistaken, this one and that one over there are Everglades. But I'm not 100%. I might have put one of my sun cherries over here, which is a yellow tomato. I have the footage, but I don't actually have my audio, so this is going to be another surprise, sadly. And then I have got my Creole red onions, which are looking great. Some of them are trying to lay down, but I think it has more to do with the storm that passed through, not because they're done. They are starting to bulb. As you can see right here, these are not going to be very big bulbs, and I do have a couple that were messed up. So I went ahead and transplanted a couple of my sweet bulbs in here too. But ultimately, I did learn one thing about this bed in general. Whenever I set all of this stuff up for these onions and everything, the onions, the garlic, the whole fall time, really, I did not account for how the chicken coop being built late spring was going to change what I knew about the garden shade and stuff like that during the winter time. And what I found out is that half of this bed, even like 90% of this bed at some points, this bed was completely shaded out for a majority of the winter time, which is when these plants, the onions, actually put on a ton of their growth is during those months. They slowly grow up over those months. And then as soon as we hit about 10 or 12 hours, these guys start putting on bulbs. So a lot of the green leafing did not actually start until the springtime, which means these guys are a little bit on the slow, which is fine. This is only my second year growing onions, so I think they're still doing okay for only my second year doing them. I can tell you these guys are doing so much better than the starts that I ordered. These I grew from seed, but my other seeds did not germinate, so I ordered those. That situation was a whole fiasco, but we won't get back into that. We're just going to go ahead and go with the next time I'll be starting all of mine from seeds. But it does seem like, even though these guys have been through a lot of abuse, they are looking very well for having planted these in November of last year. So I think I can actually overwinter my onions. And so far, knock on wood, nothing has bolted. There are no seed heads on any of these. I think they're actually going to bolt up, you know, at least moderately, but I won't have to worry about yanking any because they went ahead and bolted on me. Can I please stop with the itchy nose? Oh my god. Okay, and then further on back here, we've got our spicy pepper bed. This is my Hungarian wax pepper. For those of you who missed the story about the Hungarian wax pepper, last year I accidentally, this was supposed to have been a bell pepper, but this is part of Peppergate, and I overwintered it. And it still looks a little bit yellow, but it's actually looking a whole lot better. I had to move all of the soil top over there because this one, for some reason, just does not want as much hydration as my other peppers. It started yellowing. It did not want that much water. So after I moved that away, it started greening up a little bit more again. And I have been pulling the blooms off of this one because it looked stressed. I didn't want it trying to put on fruit so that it could seed itself and then die on me. I wanted to find out what was wrong with it. We've got our serranos, we've got a ghost pepper, we've got a cayenne, we've got the overwintered jalapeno, we've got another serrano, a ghost pepper, and a cayenne. And that's all of my hot peppers. These are the ones we're trialing this year. And I have got a opal basil here, and right here is 2 more borages that just decided to sprout up, and I'm leaving them. On this side of the bed, on this side of the bed, we have our sweet basil. We have got a Roma tomato, Roma, and that says Romanesco. That is so not a Romanesco. Let's go around and look at the other side of that tag. Yep, that is an Everglades. So these two guys, let's see, Everglades, Tamando, Everglades, Tamando, opal, basil, Roma, and then I've got 3 different types. I have got 3 different types of cucumber here. I've got a parthenocarpic. It's called something Merlin. I'll see if I can find the name of it and put it up on the screen. And then I've just got basic pickling cucumber mixed in along with this. I'm surprised this one is alive. It was actually growing in with that one. I pulled it, put it there in the middle, and it lived. I was shocked. So there's an extra one. And here, in these spots, are supposed to be garbanzo beans. They have not sprouted yet. I'm kind of losing faith that these are going to sprout. I've got another volunteer borage, another of the red and white snapdragons. This one was recently trimmed, so it's going to give me another flush of blooms. My rooster, he's being nosy. Pets. This right here is one of the snack areas that I made for the chickens. This one probably is not going to do very much because it's already too hot for these things to sprout. So I'll probably give these to the chickens during one of the times I'm letting those guys out, because they definitely need distraction whenever those guys are out. I'm starting the integration process, but it's slow. Moving on. Here's another snack one. Right here, like I said, these guys, it's too hot. That one's actually bolting. If you can see that, that one is probably, I'm going to say this is probably an arugula, but I'm not 100%. I think it's arugula. But that's basically like a lettuce, arugula, radish mix, where I was just making it for the chickens to have some greens. And then up here, oh, there's the sun. And then up here we have our potatoes. Now, hopefully this means that there's a lot of potatoes in this bed. It could just mean that there's a lot of nitrogen in this bed and all I did was grow greens. We will find out in about another month, a month and a half, somewhere around there. It'll be the end of May, early June before this bed is pulled, so we'll find out then. And then I've got a couple of tomatoes that are struggling against the potatoes right here. These are a sun sugar right here, and then a, what was it called? Let's see, a sun sugar, I think, on both of these. And then across the way is a Mr. Stripey, which are big yellow tomatoes, smaller yellow tomatoes. And then inside this bed is supposed to be my summer squash. I actually am growing this for somebody else. Well, I'm rather not growing this for anybody else because nothing has come up. It's been long enough. So I will be replanting and attempting the mound method to see if it works better. Which, given the fact that it's warmed up since I planted those, it probably will work better, obviously. Then I've got my opal basil. And what I'm thinking is, well, obviously a flower. But is this a calendula or an echinacea? I do not know. It looks like a calendula to me, but I haven't actually grown an echinacea. And whatever it is obviously a perennial, but both of them are perennials inside my area, so I'm not 100% sure. We will find out. But there's the basil, and these are my super sauce tomatoes. I have only got 4 of them, only 4 of them survived. Chances are the rest are up there inside that gauntlet of tomatoes. We'll visit that in a minute. But we shall see. I've got plenty of Romas to compare these super sauce tomatoes to find out if they were actually worth the price. These were $6.35 per, what was it, 15 seeds? Might have been 15 seeds. I think it was only 15. So this was $6, whereas my Romas are like $1.50 for 30. So these are very, very overpriced, and I can't save the seeds on these because these are a hybrid. So if I save the seed, there's a good chance that the seed will not be true to parent. So that sucks, but moving along, in the next bed, we have got celery that is going to seed, parsley that is going to seed, and I may or may not continue to allow these guys to grow. So far, they're not impeding anything, and I have nothing else that I want to plant here. So I'm just going to leave them for now. In the back of this one, I have got Romas. There are 3 of them. I've got one of my Snapdragons that is the sunset colors. And then I have got the pink tomatoes that were from last year. They grew very well, so I decided to grow them again this year. I have got a poblano from last year that I overwintered. And the rest of this bed is all Bonnie Bells from the store because none of my bell peppers actually grew. They decided to transform into tomatoes, so I went and bought my bells. Hopefully this will give us enough bell peppers for the upcoming season. I did go through and seed some flowers. I'm not really seeing very many. There's supposed to be some over here. I do see a few right there. I'm going to assume those are probably the alyssum that I planted, but I'm not seeing the rest of them. Yeah, I'm not seeing any others. I think that's the alyssum right there. And then over here, this is some more of these sunset colors of the Snapdragons. I just trimmed this one this morning. Not only is it blocking this particular plant, but after a while these plants get to looking very pitiful if you don't trim them down. So I trimmed them down. I left just a few blooms on both of them to allow them a chance to grow more and hopefully put on some more blooms. These are the Cherokee Purples. My Romas in the back as per the usual. Now this is more bell peppers, but they're a different, well, sweet peppers, but they're not all bells. They've got a Cubanella. I haven't tried this kind. I have got a sweet banana. I have tried sweet banana, but that's one of my favorite peppers, actually. A lunchbox orange, something to snack on so I don't eat the bell peppers. Orange bell, it's basically a bell pepper. Then I have got the actual bell pepper that I overwintered, a mini bell that I overwintered, and a nanapeño, which is basically a bell pepper. It has the same flavor as a bell pepper. And then I've got my opal basil. And over here, I seeded in some cantaloupe. I'm not seeing any seeds, and this might be the same issue I'm having before with the others. I might need to elevate this thing to allow it to warm up, or just simply wait a little while longer until the soil heats up. Now, this particular row is actually 3 rows long, so let's go on to the next one. Alright, in this bed I have got a row of lettuces and arugula, which is the reason why I say I'm pretty sure the arugula that I saw earlier, that was arugula, because this has got the same thing and I know that's arugula. There's one lettuce that survived the thing. The back row that was back here of radishes, I just pulled the last one. There's one more sitting over there, but I'm not sure if it's going to produce because it was kind of trampled on. But I already have another seeding of radishes and lettuces going in, and they're in varying stages of growth. And as you can see, we have started laying in irrigation. This is a chicory plant with some sort of grasshopper. Chicory, I would definitely recommend having this if you are worried about recession stuff. If you're worried about prepping in any way, I would definitely recommend having this plant growing in your yard somewhere, because the root of this plant tastes very similar to coffee. It doesn't have caffeine in it like coffee does, but if you need the coffee flavor and some crap hits the fan, this is the plant to hold on to. Plus, in my area at least, this is a perennial. And I've had quite a few of them grow back this year, and I've actually pulled them because I've got another place I want to put these. But I digress. I would definitely recommend getting that. Plus, the flowers that come up are like this beautiful blue kind of thing, and my chickens like to eat the leaves. So this is like a multi-purpose plant that just does a whole lot of stuff here. So I'm going to grow more of these in more places. Then I have got my lemon balm, which I am allowing to take over this entire section of bed. And if it wants to eventually, this entire bed, I will be perfectly happy with this. This is my favorite tea. I have already harvested yet again. I have got a full dryer of herbs right now, and 3 of the levels are just this. So this is lovely. And then I've got some more borage sitting here that just kind of volunteered, so I have left it. Not that one, that's a weed right there. But borage and borage, and I have left them to grow, assuming they can survive me trampling them, because this is right next to where my hose is. Especially that one is right next to where I pull my hose from, so it's constantly getting ran over. Alright, and let's go one step back. And we have also done some irrigation in here. Our irrigation is a work in progress and we're learning, so this needs a little bit of work, but we're working on it. Don't even worry about it. This was I can't remember which type of kale, but it was like a kind of a prickly kale, and I left one leaf on there. It'll probably wind up growing back. I have got one char left. I have got an artichoke left. Snapdragon, but I completely took the top off of that one because it is looking very leggy and pitiful. So I chopped it down hoping it will branch and then bloom again. And then right here in between, I have got some turmeric planted. Now, whether or not it's actually going to do anything, I really don't know. I really don't think this particular bed right here is in any way warm enough for these guys to sprout if they're going to sprout. I also planted in some nasturtiums right here. We'll see whether or not those take off. I have got some more butterfly weed, and I have got a lot of celery that looks like it's about to bolt. And right this second, I have no use for this. I have my lettuces growing here. So if it gets to the point where I feel like this bed is not going to be enough lettuce doing it this way, I might take these out and add this area to it as well. Right here, I have got in ground my loofah seeds and a moonflower right here in the corner. Like I said, I don't know if these guys will actually come up because of the soil temperature. I'll keep trying until I get the timing right. And then over here, I have got some more Everglades tomatoes. I have got these guys everywhere all over my garden, and they are already blooming. So I'm just walking by and shaking trellises. And the reason being is these guys can be air pollinated. The thing that needs to pollinate them is, if I can actually get in here, there are 2 parts to this flower. The center part being the male part and the outside being the female part. And the only thing it really needs is this. You do that, those guys are pollinated basically. So I've already got some tiny tomatoes back here. And Everglades are a cherry tomato. I'm not sure exactly how big they get. We will find out together. I cannot wait. I have heard good things about this plant. For instance, if you plant them once, they will show up all over your garden. I'm okay with this. As you can tell, I have borage and all kinds of stuff that are just propagating themselves all over my garden, and I love it. So I'm hoping that's actually the case, and I put it in enough places to see some next year. And then I've got my roselles. And after seeing some growth, I feel like I should have shoved these two guys further sideways, and I don't know if it's too late to try to do that to give them some more room. From what I understand, these guys get pretty decently sized. So I don't know if I should have taken these guys and separated them more, or even just planted them along the back and then put these in the back of another bed. I guess we'll find out this year. I'm already thinking about moving them forward. I'm not 100% though, because I was hoping to have this area for a second round of my summer squash. But as my first round of summer squash still has not happened, I don't know that I will actually need this area for that. I might just put my black eyed peas in here. And then over here I have got some evergreen onions. I think these might be the Tokyo kind. I'm not 100% sure. Could have been one of the other ones. I did do like 3 different types and plant them in, and then I moved them around whenever I was replanting, so these could be any of them. They are going to seed, and I have already collected 2 seed heads that I'm saving for seeds, and I'm waiting on those 2 as well so I can get some more seeds going, because my seeds were not viable again this year. Onions typically will only last like 1 or 2 years, and my seeds are already 2 years old, so I'm not surprised that they didn't germinate. These guys hopefully will. And then I've got pink brandywine right here. And then I've got black prince right here. All of these are like slicing. And then over here, I have got the asparagus bean. I'm not a huge fan of the way the beans have been growing in previous years. I figured I would try something totally different, and these long beans looked very interesting, and I'm very curious to see how they do. I'm not sure that I should have planted them this close together or planted this many. So I may or may not go through and thin them. But of course they've got this entire trellis to go over. These guys probably will only climb up to about here before the summer gets to them. But these guys have also got the benefit of some of the shade from that tree. So I'm hoping these guys will be late summer producers as well. We'll see. I have no idea. And then of course my onion bed. The aforementioned notorious onion bed. These guys are not even bulbing. This is a slightly shaded area first thing in the morning, but it gets plenty of sun throughout the day. And it definitely gets between 10 and 12 hours. So they should be in bulbing phase. I'm not sure how many days of sunlight they need in order to start the bulbing process, but they are a bit later. And by later, I mean, I planted these in the beginning of March, maybe the beginning of March. I won't be going without a harvest at all. These guys are getting decently thick for how late they were put in. And at the very least, I'll have, I don't know, lots and lots and lots of green onion, even if they don't do anything else. So there is that. The soil looks dry, but it's actually not dry. It's very, very wet. I was sitting here thinking maybe I need to water it again, but nope. I think the entire ground over here is saturated right now. All right, and that is actually done for, my hand is falling asleep. That is actually it for the main part of the garden. Let's walk over to the berry area because there is a little bit of action going on over there too. Always add pretty things to your garden area whenever you find them. It's just a thought. It's like being a ferret or a crow, add shiny things, you know? All right, we have got blackberry patch. These are so close to being ready. And I cannot wait. These guys are absolutely covered in berries. And that's the entire blackberry patch. I've got so many raspberries coming up all over the place. I need to get these guys out and pot them into pots. I've got people who want them. And now that I know that I can get them to survive, it is awesome that I can share these with other people, because then I can take over their yard too. But we have got raspberries all over the place. And they are turning red. So I have actually already gotten my first harvest of raspberries. I will be bringing a bowl out later on to get a few more of those because the birds around here really like the raspberries. So, blackberries coming soon. Raspberries are already here. This is nice because this is actually a very early for what I thought I would be getting the raspberries. I was expecting more towards the summer instead of spring. And this is, I guess, what you would call mid to early spring right now. So I like the fact that I'm already getting a harvest of something during this time period. I like that concept. All right, really quick, let's go over to the tomato arena and see what's going on over there. If we have any losers that are going on, if we have anything that's statistically interesting about what's going on in this area. This is the tomato arena. I would definitely recommend going back and watching the video. I'll actually post it. I will post it as a card at the end of this video if you guys are interested in going back and watching this on why all of these tomatoes are sitting here. It's really weird, really kind of silly, but I'm doing it anyway. Now, for the video that was missing, you didn't see that I actually took the 2 tomatoes that were not producing in these 2 beds. I moved them over here just to see what would happen. Right here is one of those tomatoes. It still hasn't grown, it hasn't produced anything, new stem, new leaves, new anything. It has not done anything. And here is the other one that I pulled up that was on the other side. And I'm really not seeing any new growth at all on this one either. So I think I was right in going ahead and taking those guys out. I think they're just going to wind up sitting in here and dying. So far, the one that I thought was the first casualty is still hanging on. So far, I don't see any other casualties in this grouping of tomatoes. So the bets are still out, guys. Which one out of this mess do you think is going to produce? So far, I'm kind of the opinion what we're going to find out is the ones that are over there in the cage produce better than all the ones that I have in my garden, because that's just how things work. Whenever you let Mother Nature handle it and don't get too involved in it, typically things turn out okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our entire garden tour for the 29th of April. There's a lot of stuff going on. There are so many changes going on, and I am absolutely thrilled that it is finally growing season again. I have been waiting on this. So, I will see you guys in our next tour, which at this moment, I have decided will be like every other week. If you guys would like to see it every week, just hit me up in the comment section. I would love to hear back from you. So far, I think I'm just going to stick to every other week, at least until harvesting starts, because I'll probably turn it into 1 week will be a tour and 1 week will be a harvesting thing. And that way you'll get both sides of the whole situation. But I'll see you guys then. You have a wonderful day overnight and you stay shiny. Bye.